Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to Congregation Kol Ami. We're delighted to have our small in-space minyan, as well as all of our folks joining us online. And it is a blessing and actually a time of nechemta, of comfort, to know that here in Denton County, we see that the COVID vaccines are being distributed rapidly, and hopefully that will continue that way, and it will go as a pace. So, well, we want to start out, first of all, with our good and blessing, with our the things that have brought us comfort and joy. The first things that bring me comfort and joy are our in-space minyan. So I want to thank Helena and Don and Sharon Pickett and Harold and Adrian and Bob and Becky and Melissa, who are all here with me tonight, and Susan. Thank you, Susan. So we have that, and of course we are delighted that you are here with us online. We have a number of birthdays going on. Jacob Dubner and Robbie Gelman, Maggie Watts, Ruth Dubner, Adrian Harris, Mazel Tov, and Russ Weisberg are all celebrating birthdays. No one's reported any anniversaries to me, but I'm sure there are other random and not so random moments of goodness that have been happening to everybody. So I invite you out on the line to share with us anything that's been going on. First and foremost, I return back to the fact that I think I've seen at least a half dozen Kol Amites reporting that they've gotten their COVID shots this day, and even more in the past week. I had the delight to be able to work as a volunteer on the line, and it was like clockwork. It was an amazing experience. I think we processed 9,000 people that day. So it feels hopeful, it feels good. Robin got her injection, so that's a good and blessing for us. Who else has a good and blessing to share? Yes, Melissa.
I got my first record.
Mazel tov. See, the expanding club is very exciting. It's nice that it's not so exclusive anymore. Anybody else?
I got my KitchenAid 6-quart mixer today.
Whoa! Oh man! All right. And what have you made in the?
I've been looking for just the right recipe.
Oh, okay. All right. You didn't rush into action on that one. Okay. Very good. Yes, Becky.
This is for Ben, but he got asked as an 8th grader to participate in the high school drum line for winter competitions, but he's the only 8th grader in the LHS area that got pulled up.
Precocious young man. Very impressive. Very impressive. So he can make noise.
He makes a lot of noise.
Above his pay scale. That's very impressive.
Michelle Tell also got her second vaccine.
Okay, Michelle is also among the initiated. So, as I said, it just, I think, feels better in general to see that this is moving forward in a way. So, with all of that, I hope we're all feeling grateful. We all have a sense of the good things that are going on in our lives. We're going to get our Shabbat service started now with, as always, the kindling of Shabbat lights. And it's my privilege to invite up Helena Shap-Dossi. She is going to be leading us. And if you've got your service, it's page 1.
In the beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav Praised are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who hallows us with mitzvot and inspires us to kindle Shabbat lights. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen.
Amen. And with that, we are going to begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service. I just want to tell everyone that not only am I doing my rabbinic duties, but I'm the Shliach Tzibor, the service leader tonight. So if I stop to drink a little sip of water occasionally, forgive me the interruptions. All right. So we're going to go immediately to Kabbalat Shabbat and Psalm 95. Lechune Ranena. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzur Yishenu Ngekadma Fanav B'Torah. Naria, Naria, Letzur Yishenu B'Zimrot Naria Lo. Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Ladonai. Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Lechune Ranena, Ladonai. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai and raise a shout for our rock and our Redeemer. Come, let us enter God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is supreme, the sovereign over all beings. We're going to go now to Psalm 96 in the middle of the page. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and the peoples faithfully. Psalm 97, Or Zeruach L'Tzadik V'Yishrei Lev Simcha. Adonai reigns, let the land exult and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. And God's lightning illumines the world. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. We're going to turn now to Psalm 29 on page 6, and join me in the Hebrew if you know it. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ascribe to Adonai, you children of God. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name, and worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. May Adonai give strength to this people. May Adonai bless this people with peace. We're going to continue on now with Lecha Dodi, the culmination of our Kabbalat Shabbat. I'm going to call on Don and Harold to be our ushers welcoming in the Sabbath. And we're going to be doing Lecha Dodi, page 7, if you've got a prayer book. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el haminuchad. Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'litila. Lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuva nelcha. Ki mekor habracha, merosh mekedem nisucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshavati la, lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai yalalai yalalai, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoruri hitoruri kiva ore kumi ori. Uri, Uri, Shida Beri, Kivod Adonai, Alai, Nikligla. Please rise. Lechadodi, Likrat Kalai, Yalalai, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lechadodi, Likrat Kalai, Yalalai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nekabela, Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam v'simcha u'zola, toch emunei yam sigula, boi chala, lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. If you're looking at my belly button, it's because we've had a technical failure here on our camera. That is entirely my fault, but we'll have it resolved in just a moment. So while we are working on that, we're just going to go to Psalm 92, a song for Shabbat on page 8. A song for Shabbat. It is good to give thanks to Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a harp, with voice and lyre in unison. Sadiq katamar yifrach v'ke'erez v'Lebanon yizgeh, and the righteous shall bloom like a palm, they shall thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. We continue now with the Hatzikadosh. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uv'izman kariv v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei dekudsha, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Dami ran belma v'yimaru amen. Whatever your circumstance, if you can rise in body or only in spirit, please rise for the Baruch. Baruch et Adonai hamavorach, Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed. And in celebration of the night and its rest and the coming day, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'dvaro ma'ariv aruvim v'chochma poteach sha'arim u'vitvuna meshane itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'mseder et hakokavim v'mishmerotehem barakia kerotzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei hoshech v'hoshech mipnei or Umavdir bein yom uvei bein lila. Excuse me. Umavdil bein yom uvein lila. Adonai tziva'ot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim. May God govern us always to the end of time. Praised are you, Adonai, who makes evening fall. And praised are you for your unending love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah, mitzvot, laws, and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night will we reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. And then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated, everyone. We're going to continue with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol miodecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha Hayom alevavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta ba'am, v'shiftecha b'beitecha, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, u'shokbecha u'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uhisharecha leman tiskaru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kerushim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lechem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet ve'emunah, beloved and eternal, loved and precious, awesome, good, and beautiful is this enduring teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive, redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing, and like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, Malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokeach yam livnei Moshe ze li'anu v'amru Adonai yimloch Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. And as our day's pace slows and we prepare ourselves for the quiet of night, we ask for God's personal protection over us. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukkah shlomecha. Grant that we should lie down this night in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O sovereign, to life renewed on the morrow. Spread over us the shelter of your peace and guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We come now to the tefillah, or the standing prayer. Again, as you are able in body or spirit, please rise. Adonai sefatati tafu fiya vikahilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagadol, Ha'norah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zoter HaStel V'Timot, U'medi Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Ve'aharam, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham V'Ezra Saharam, Atah Kipor Ve'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol V'Rachamim Rabim. So make no clean V'Rofei Holim, Umatir Hasurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishanei Afar, Mikamot Avavurot, Umidom Bela, Melech Meni, Umekayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'nei Atah Hayot HaKol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'kol yom yechavrucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated, everyone. We want to honor and salute this day, the Sabbath, the gift that God has given us uniquely as the Jewish people, with the blessing Vishamru. You can find it on the top of page 21. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. It is a sign forever between me and the children of Israel, for in 6 days Adonai God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. Reitzeh. Reitzeh Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael utefilatam ba'ahava tikabel. Adonai our God, show favor towards your people and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable to you, for you alone do we hold in reverence. Modim. And we give thanks to you, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. We praise you and thank you and recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. We come now to our concluding blessing, Shalom Rav, our request for enduring peace. Then we're going to take a moment for our own silent reflections and prayers, and we'll finish that up with Oseh Shalom. So, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. V'tov v'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. It feels appropriate this week to begin with a little Jewish humor, slightly updated. So the question is, how many Jewish orbital space lasers does it take to start a forest fire? And the answer is new, none. What, there are no matches? Seriously. Anti-Semitic canards and conspiracies are really serious, just as anti-Semitism itself, we know, being on the receiving end of it, is deadly serious. But it's hard not to laugh at some of the more outlandish and contrived supposed plots and secret agendas and special things that we do. I imagine our ancestors laughed when they were told that Jews steal the sacred host from churches and then stab it so that they can cause it to bleed the blood of Christ. But the consequences of that outlandish conspiracy theory was sometimes lethal and devastating. So we know. Still, the absurdity of conspiracies, past and present, credited to us, elicits that most Jewish of responses, some humor, particularly gallows humor. But frankly, I don't want to linger on that part of this week's news cycle tonight. Instead, I would like to take up this as an invitation to consider an adjacent idea to space lasers. Since a laser is coherent light beam, I'd like to talk about one of the most powerful symbols and motifs of our faith. That is the light, or or, and enlightenment, which is either known as ha'er or haskil. These two ideas, light and enlightenment, as fact and metaphor, are central to the endeavor of our faith. Or, light, is at the heart of the Torah. It's at the beginning of the Torah. It begins with light. Light is the genesis, the creation of the universe. The primary utterance of creation is Yihi or V'yi or. Let there be light, and there was light. It's separation from darkness. But, of course, because Jews have to ask questions and be skeptical, what kind of light? Even our ancestors knew that light emanated from a source. The visible light of the earth came from the sun, the stars, and the moon, even though they probably didn't understand the moonlight was only reflected sunlight, but that's a different question. But even if a burst of light was a very evocative image in Genesis, they must have been aware of the problem in the Torah narrative, which is that by the Torah's own account, the sun, the moon, and star had yet to be created. So what kind of light is Genesis describing here in the first moments of creation? The Midrash asks this: from what was light created, the first light? And the answer is given to us. God cloaked himself in a shimmering shawl, and the light of its splendor shone from one end of the world to the other. In other words, fundamentally, the first light does not belong within the universe. The first light was not visible light at all. It was God's unique light, or as we like to say in English, enlightenment, wisdom. Visible light followed the enlightenment days later. In either case, both light and enlightenment do not belong fully to this world. Rather, light fills our universe from above and around, while enlightenment is an emanation of a different essence from the other side of reality, as it were. Both kinds of light serve as the symbol of good and beauty, all that is positive. Light permits human beings, who get most of our sensory information from seeing, to more or less perceive the world as it is. But its more potent older brother, the light of enlightenment, the wisdom, helps us see the possibilities hidden in the world. And while Torah teaches and finds positives in the darkness, the difference between light and darkness assumes such a general and metaphysical significance, and the advantage of light over darkness is so obvious, so self-evident, that it serves as our sharpest metaphor in Judaism. Wisdom, we are told, excels folly as far as light excels darkness, according to Ecclesiastes. Light as a positive symbol is so prevalent in the biblical Hebrew that other important values such as redemption, truth, justice, peace, and even life are said to shine. And their revelations expressed in terms of the revealing of light. God came in light to Mount Sinai. And Torah goes further. The symbolism of light intertwines God and humanity. Divine revelation itself is a revelation of light. The righteous people, the tzaddikim, we are told, shine in the heavens. We are also told that in the Garden of Eden, they bask in the light of the Shekhinah, or the divine presence. So even God himself, as we describe him, is my light and my salvation. The use of light as a symbolic expression of the positive aspect of reality is not, however, limited to words. We Jews love to enact our faith with gestures and deeds, and thus it is the use of light and lamps as concrete expressions of our beliefs. These objects point to the essentialness of holiness in all of its different appearances in reality. In the sanctity of place, lamps in the ancient temple, and in the modern synagogue. I'm not going to play with the camera this time and bring disaster upon us. And in the sanctity of time, in the form of Shabbat candles and festivals, and in the sanctity of importance of events from birth to death and beyond death are marked with light. So, the Sabbath and festival candles. Initially, the Sabbath candles were lit for a rather prosaic, ordinary purpose, to make more light for those who eat their Shabbat evening meal, to provide a cheery space so that they would not spend the evening in a darkened space. The light of the candles, however, has become the very symbol of Shabbat itself, a kind of light of the 7 days of creation, shining in a sanctified niche of time. This multitude of meanings exists not only from the viewpoint of the onlooker. The meaning of light is embodied as a tangible form in the material utensils of light that we use. The difference between the single wick of the Sabbath candles and the braided wick of the Havdalah candle is the distinction between a light that is calm and reassuring of repose and hominess, and the strong torch of going forth into the week, a light with which on one hand we, the loyal retinue to the Sabbath, escort the departing queen from our midst. On the other hand, it allows us to look into the darkness, which becomes more marked in the days when the Shabbat is absent. The Hanukkah lights stand in one line and mark the count of days, while the Shamash, the helper or servant candle, stands apart to remind us, unlike the other candles, that there is still a practical and secular use for light. You could hardly tell that in Judaism. The overall significance of light as an expression of the good and beautiful is then divided into shades and subshades of meaning. The general light of the world as it is, a light that contains all of reality, is divided into individual lights, each of which it has its own identity, the human soul, both in terms of its role and the emotions that are expressed in us and awakened in us. With light, we see the full contours of our world and the blessings that are with us here and now. But enlightenment, that is about the potential in the world. The first light of Genesis is that light, the light of what is yet to be realized, what is yet to be made, the world that is still becoming. Or to put it in the words of the Hasidic master, Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, who wrote, the Hebrew word for light, or, has the same numerical value in Hebrew numbers as the word for a secret, raz. The secret being that what is possible but has not yet been seen is still in what we find in the world today. The function of light in general is to illuminate. The world of this world, the Olam Hazeh, the world with its flawed beauty, its imperfect justice, its partial love, the world that is a mosaic of both light and darkness. But it is also pointing the direction we must take towards the Olam Haba, the world to come, the light of a better world, of, as it would be said, a brighter world. And it is the darkness. What about the darkness? I said earlier, it serves a function in Judaism. Sefer Yetzirah says that the existence of darkness underscores light, emphasizing the yearning for it. So these three things, darkness, light, and the potential light of what could be, are what guide us in our journey through Torah, which we too call a light and lamp to the feet as we make our life's journey. So, do we have light? Yes. Do we have supernal light? You betcha. Is it focused? I hope so. So, we should be proud of the light that we have. If it isn't exactly as what's the word I'm looking for? Malevolent, as some people seem to think, nevertheless it is true. We Jews have an overarching light that we use all the time in our lives. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So it's, I believe, are you Becky? Yes, our president is in charge of our announcements. So I'm delighted to have her up.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to another Friday evening service. It's nice to see familiar faces and new faces. And my sister was here for earlier this evening, and then she had to go get my daughter. So I'm grateful. That's a thing to be thankful for. A little late in the service is family members who help out other family members. Not a lot of announcements this week. I just need to flip the page till we get to where they are. So as I said last week, Green Family Camp is doing in-person family tours. They're trying to get ready for the summer to see what they can do. There's teams there that leads the individual families around. They're definitely adhering to safety protocols and procedures. Please go to the website if you have any questions, or I'm sure you can also go to Green's website and take a look out there. Rabbi is starting his reading group, Reading with Rabbi. It's kind of got a nice rhythm to it. Join along with Rabbi as he reads Born to Fetch, the Yiddish Language and Culture in all of its moods by Michael Wex. He'll be discussing the first 3 chapters during the first session, which is next Thursday, the 11th at 7 p.m. There's 4 sessions in total. Each session covers 3 chapters at a time. You can do the math. They're held the 2nd and 4th Thursday of February and March, each beginning at 7 p.m. You are responsible for getting your own book. If you don't have another alternative, you can find a link to purchase it where? On our website, of course, because that's where everything good is now found. You can purchase it using the link, and if you do, we get a small little piece back. So you're really, by helping you, you're helping us, which is such a great thing to do. And the next step is that we're getting ready for Purim, and Purim wouldn't be the same without giving some goodies to those you love. So please join us for the CKM Purim Mishloach Manot exchange. I hope I said that right. If you've been wanting to do a mitzvah and you want to put together goodies for a fellow congregant or a friend, this is your chance. I know we don't offer these options to help other people. Maybe we do. We're going to be helping and creating a hosted hosting a secret Shlomo style Mishloach Manot exchange. Oh my gosh, that's very wordy tonight. Oh, and here we get to say it again. Mishloach Manot are gift baskets with foods and drinks that you can give to those you love, or maybe those you just like for Purim. While food and outside drinks are the traditional contents, you can include anything in the basket you like that's appropriate. I'll just stick that in there. Some fun ideas outside traditional baskets are themed ones such as a tea basket or an all blue basket. Items can be purchased or homemade, be as creative as you'd like. You can remain anonymous, or you can add pictures and letters from your family. Once you sign up, where on the website, you will be randomly assigned another participating congregant. You need to be signed up no later than February 20th, so there's still time. You will deliver or mail your basket to them on or before Purim, which is the 25th of this month. And if you have any questions, please contact Casey or the office during normal office hours. Any other announcements that you'd like that you can think of off the top of your head? I know I don't randomly.
We'll be meeting for our disc golf on Sunday after religious school at 3 o'clock at Lawrence Woods.
LL
Park.
Woods Park, yes,
Yep.
3 o'clock, teens, 14 to 16, 14 to 18, 14 to 18.
And young adults.
And young adults at heart.
Yep. So other than that, I don't think we have any.
So here at Congregation, we want to wish and offer those in need of healing, a blessing, or repair. If there's anybody that's not on the Misha Beirach list that you'd like to add as I go across the room or online, please just let me know, and I will start from left to right, my left to right. Thank you.
Maxine Collins, Jim Clark, Mike Nelson, Tom Holland, Dana Hall, Howard Hall, Shirley Gator, Steve Berger.
Thank you.
Susie Jacobs, Sarah Moore, Dory Reeves.
Thank you.
Amy Martinez.
Thank you. Melissa Toon.
Chris Cookwood, Jackie and Joe Blondo, Lisa Rosario, and Deanna Dorio.
Thank you. In addition to those named, we also wish healing to Harry Anthony, Natalie Bovino, Karen Bucksbaum, Ken Chisholm, Paula Chisholm, Lauren Cordova, Sandy Cook, Dave Cook, Jerry Dietz, Pat Ducar, Gordon Ellison, Tammy Ferris, Debbie Freed, Michelle Griffith, James Hart, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Alex Koenig, Sandy Lenzner, Luis Lopez, Karen Moreau Kanakoli, Judy Morasic, Herbert Paley, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schusler, Tiffany Candelario, Wilson, and Lillian Wolf.
Joe and Doug Freeman.
Thank you. If you join me for Misha Beirach. Misha Beirach Avotenu Mechor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We're going to continue now with our Alenu, and Among the delightful people present, I'm going to ask if Melissa will come up and help me with the ark. We're going to be on page 82. Page 82. Please rise. Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, Ushamo, Ushamo, Ushamo Echad. And now is our time to recall those who have passed away, whether it be recently or at this season in years past. We recall the names with love and gratitude of those whom we have lost, and we honor them and those who mourn for them. I begin with Shiva. Here in the congregation, we don't have anyone listed for this week. Is there anybody in our local community or larger community that has a name to include in our prayers? Shiva. Shloshim. We continue to mourn for the death of Mel Gross, husband of Betty and father of Jeff, Aaron, and Heike, and also a former president of this congregation. Has anybody else lost someone in the last month? Thank you. And for our yard sites this week, we think of Mel Brooks, Murray Glick, Joseph Gross, Alex Kentner, Freda Landau, Bert Ring, Vera Robinson Neff, and Nathan Saltpeter. And that is it. Anybody have a yard site or anniversary of death? Oh. Thank you. Thank you. So with those names and those yet unspoken, we turn now to page 85. I invite you all to rise so that we together may join with those who mourn and express our appreciation of those who've gone before us. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'galal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach ve'olam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitormam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalei v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'elma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, amen. All right, so please be seated, folks. I thought for our closing song, we would simply emphasize that even in the face of strange and bizarre claims, threats, and accusations, that the people Israel lives. So a little bit of Am Israel Chai. All right? Page 95, if you have in the prayer book. It's a simple song. It's all of 6 words. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai, Hey. Od Avinu Chai, hey. Od Avinu Chai, hey. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. Hey, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. Hey, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. Yeah, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. And now, rather than mess up with Bob's brilliant setup here, I'll bring it all over here. Salachli, Bob, for messing with your system. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to sanctify the Sabbath and rejoice in it. And of course, wine, juice, sweetness, the symbol of this day, the symbol of our joy. We begin with Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra kodesh zecher l'tziyah Mitzrayim kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. And then we conclude with Challah, symbolic of our prosperity and all of our blessings. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Motzi lechem min haaretz. And now, with the holy tongs of distribution, I set out to bless everyone with a little taste of a wonderful Casey Challah. And